Hi everyone, this is Abhishek Sharma from Pulastya Legal and welcome to another episode of Big Talk. Today's video will be super duper interesting. As a lawyer for many years, I meet a lot of people from various backgrounds. These include business owners, artists, inventors, bankers, and a lot of people from the legal industry. The guest we have today is a super talented legal professional. She started her career as a lawyer but is now an IP professor at NMIMS Mumbai. She's the author of a book titled Intellectual Property Rights in the Creative Industry, which was published by Thomson Reuters. She has an LLM degree in corporate and commercial laws from Queen's Mary College of London, University of London. She's pursuing her Ph.D. from Symbiosis Law School, Pune. She has literally done it all and still works with the same zest and zeal every single day. Her love for students is big, which I think is one of the biggest compliments you can receive as a teacher. I met her a few months ago, and her love for IP stood out within minutes of meeting her. So without further ado, I welcome Twinkle Maheshwary. Welcome Twinkle to Big Talk, powered by Pulastya Legal. I know you're extremely busy. Thank you so much for your time today, and I'm really happy that we're doing this together.
Thank you so much for having me over here, Abhishek. It's an honor to be here.
Right.
Thank you.
I have a lot to talk to you about because your profile is a mind-blowing profile, and I know I'm a lawyer, and you are not just a lawyer. You're an author. You are a Ph.D. student. You've done so much in a little bit of time that you've been in the legal profession. But I want to take you back, and I want to start with how did you get into law? What was your motivation to get into law, and how did it all work out?
Oh, thank you for a wonderful introduction. But I think there's still a lot more to do, as in how the progress happens in the legal field. But how I started law was by chance. I was actually a very studious IIT aspirant and gave my IIT exams and all also. But some things happened, and as things turned out, my father wanted me to pursue administrative services. And he, in fact, tried brainwashing me to get into the legal profession. And that's how I transpired or got into law. And I think I owe this to my father that I chose law. And but as and when I joined Symbiosis Law School, I think the interest in law increased, looking at the subjects, the applicability, and everything. Otherwise, I was more of a science student than a law student.
Right. So is it fair to say that when you joined the law school, maybe after some time you started developing an interest, or was it like an instant, like your father spoke about it and it was an instant love for law?
So in fact, frankly speaking, I never used to like lawyers and people in the administrative services. But as we say, I mean, as in when I entered the law school and as in when I started studying the subjects, I think the analytical aspect of it was, attracted me towards it, and that's how I started liking law more than just studying law.
Right. I think because you were an administrative services aspirant, you already had an inherent sense
I
of.
was never an administrative services aspirant. I was an IIT aspirant.
Okay,
administrative services, my father wanted.
Okay, that's
which I never did.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fantastic. I think what I'm trying to get to is that you always had an inherent sense of justice. You always wanted things in a certain set of order, and I think most of the lawyers that I talk to, they always have this need to have some sort of law and order around them in their personal life or in their professional life as well. Is that how it was with you as well?
So I think somewhat yes, not exactly, but I've always had the sense of justice. Maybe not law and order specifically, but a sense of justice. So I do not like people or having injustice or seeing injustice anywhere. So even if there's a child on the street and the mother, because I see it very often that the people who are probably staying on the streets, the mother are giving them drugs to silence them. So it still affects me a lot. Even an injustice in my own house, if suppose it's happening, right? I'll be the first one to speak out for it. So that's, I think, the sense of justice is more than the having the law and order around you.
That makes sense. That makes sense. What were some of the subjects that you liked in your law school?
Frankly speaking, all the company arbitration, The corporate subjects more. Even the criminal law, in fact, attracted me for a while. But intellectual property was something that took my heart away, and that's how I now am pursuing or taking my career forward in intellectual
Right.
property. Yeah.
What specifically about IP that kind of interested you?
This is very fascinating. As in when we were in the law school, it was a very niche area that people were working into. There were not a lot of IP lawyers or IP firms or media and entertainment industry and such. It was a very fascinating industry to look at. Secondly, the laws that are framed around IP, as we keep saying that it's still upcoming, it's still a niche area, it's still it still needs a lot of modifications, as in how they progress, right? So that is what attracted me towards IP. Plus, it's more of recognizing of rights in IP than actually a sense of seeing whether it's right, whether it's wrong, protecting the rights of the people who are creating the content. I've been a creative person myself throughout. So I've been involved in sports and a lot of cultural and other activities during my school days and college days as well. So, I mean, that is what I mean, to know that, okay, I have made this and I can protect it. That was something that actually, I think, made my interest in or created that interest in intellectual property.
Right, right. So if you have to sum up, let's say your learnings from your law school, besides the love for IP that got ignited there, what could be some of the learnings that you had from your law school?
Actually, a lot of learnings. First of all, I mean, I'll try to keep it short because I mean, if I keep going on for my law school days, it'll be like the whole session can be about that. But with law school, I mean, definitely one thing very certain was that you need to persist, or you need to continue doing what you want to do, because nothing comes easy for you. Right. So that was one biggest learning. And since I moved from a small town to a city like Pune, and which was, I mean, there was a lot of exposure that was given to me when I moved to Pune. So there was again a different kind of learning altogether about life and how to lead your life without your so the independency that the college gave me, right? Not specific law legally related, but the life learnings and the life lessons that the masters taught me. Professionalism was one thing that we were very particular about, and they were I mean, in fact, they still follow till today. So they told us and they molded us how to behave, the soft skills that is they're not actually taught to you by anyone, but they're inculcated in you by your practice, right? So those were the few things that I really owe my, apart from of course the good professors, legal knowledge and everything that has been there, but the exposure, the soft skill training that I've got in my school, that was very I mean, I was fortunate enough to have that.
Right. So when you graduated, so from Pune, you started your practice in Pune, or was it a firm that you joined? What was it like after you graduated?
Okay,
Talk to me more about it.
right after my graduation, actually during my graduation only, I applied for my masters to different colleges in UK, and I went for my LLM in Queen Mary University, London, in corporate and commercial laws. So it's comparative corporate and commercial laws. One subject being, of course, intellectual property, and the other subjects being company law and arbitration. Those were my core subjects over there.
Right.
So I took a different path because I wanted to complete my studies first and then move to any legal job or whatever I want to do, because I was still not certain what I want to do in my life. After completing, I had a job offer, I left it and I went for my masters because I wanted to complete my masters first. So I went for my masters to Queen Mary University, London, and then.
That's interesting. Let me ask you a question that people around me are always asking me. Is it good to do your masters and then join the profession, or is it worthwhile after you graduate to work for some time and then maybe pursue higher studies abroad?
Okay, you've got me in the spotlight, I think, over here, because I have done my masters right after my graduation, but I still firmly believe that you should do your do your masters only after having done at least 1 or 2 years of your practice or law firm practice. I mean, whatever field that you want to choose, after so having a work experience before going to masters definitely help you gain more in your masters, is what I feel. Because sometimes as a fresher, you might not be able to understand the technicalities and the things that are being told to you in the right manner, and the necessity of that particular, or the requirement of that particular knowledge that is being given to you, that I think inculcates more, or gives you a better perspective and view, in case if you've gone for your masters after having that requisite work experience. So that the knows and don'ts and do's and don'ts, yeah, of that particular.
But it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I also did my master's immediately after I graduated, but I always felt that I should have worked for a little bit more. But my argument to that is, like, if you graduate from law school, you're in the zone, you're in the process of studying something. You've already done it for 5 years. You might as well get done with do your master's for a year or two, and then probably full-fledged. Like,
I do understand that, but I think, I don't know if you will agree with me, but I've seen so many lawyers and so many people who are in the corporate. It gets monotonous for them. So they need a break after certain years of practice, and that's why they go for their masters. So, like, my counter argument for that would be a lot of them, after doing 1 and 2 years or slogging them for 2 years and 3 years, they have a definite amount of money, and they choose to go for their masters. And I think a lot of law firms do support the employees to go for their masters, and they even fund them at a lot of times. So that's an added advantage if you're going for your masters, because as you know that masters will require so much more money than your graduation. So especially if you're doing it from abroad.
Right. Talk to me about your decision-making process of going to London, because for IP, of course, there's London, there's US, there's Canada, and now I think there are a lot more Australia and all that. But back in the day when you graduated, it was US for sure. It was Singapore also as another jurisdiction that has come up. Why London? What was your thought process?
Okay, so I think I was very naive. We had lack of knowledge also at that point of time, because see now, having said that, like, for me, for my students, I have done or have a master's degree from outside, so I have that definite exposure to give it to my students also. I mean, there's no offense to any of my professors, but with due respect, they've not had that particular requisite knowledge base, that what kind of masters, because when we talk about masters, still going abroad and doing your masters was not very prevalent at that point in time. So there was lack of knowledge and expertise, that whether you can apply to these colleges. Like, for me, I always thought I could not apply to Harvard, because of course they will not take me, because I don't think I qualify for being. But I tell my students now that you should apply at least, right? Whether or not they don't take you, that's up to them, right? But what if they take you? Right. So and the process and the things. So I come from a family which is completely non-law, a business family, right? So I'm the first generation lawyer. I'm the first person who's going abroad and doing a master's. So there's no knowledge about that particular field in course to my family, to my friends, or to my professors. So the lack of knowledge was much more, I think, and ignorance was more at that point in time with me also. So, and I approached one of the consultants, and they told me that should apply to UK colleges more. And then I kept my research on the UK colleges. Plus, I think US required more funds. That was also, I think, one of the, and they scare you more than they help you out. So that ways, I think that's the reason why I chose UK. There's nothing specific. Why London? But ignorance was one thing that I think I didn't.
I think. Okay, let me ask you this: when you landed in the in the UK, and let's say it was your first week or 2 weeks of your classes. I know the education system. You're a part of that now. The education system overall in India, especially in the field of law, is very different. You're almost spoon-fed, if I may use that word, right? How was it in the UK, and did you I felt completely out of the place. I felt like a kid in a big shopping mall, all alone by myself, right?
Exactly, definitely. I think because we're told everything. Okay, you have to do this, you have to do that. This law is like this, and this law works like this, and this law is applied like this. So everything is being spoon-fed to you, right? So, but there, when I landed and when I started going to the classes, that's why I said, right, that having an experience is better.
Agree.
Right? So because when I am in the class, I don't know how to work myself.
Correct.
But I have to work myself, because if I need to know what is going on in the class, it has to be, I mean, I have to have a background of it.
Correct.
Now, if I have the background of it, it's a question mark.
Yeah.
Right? So for that, I'll have to go, I'll have to work, I'll have to sit in the library, exhaust the resources that I'm given, figure out myself that how to be relevant, because you end up paying so much, and if you're not gaining anything from it, then there's no point about it. Right? So to gain the maximum, you need to, the culture is completely different in the Indian colleges and in the UK, US colleges. But I think the crowd is also brought up like that. So once you're in the Indian college, your expectations are different.
Correct.
And when you go, to a foreign land and do your masters, the expectation is completely different. That you also want, okay, people working in the International Arbitration Center coming to you and teaching you, and people working in WIPO and everyone coming and teaching you. So, your expectations become people from all the and they don't have that much of time to tell you, okay, what is copyright. Right? They'll just tell you, okay, these are the things, and you just have to figure it out yourself. So I think the expectation also here, you expect a teacher to tell you everything. There you just expect them to, to give you that exposure, how they've gone there, how they've reached there.
Correct. Do you think LLM is overrated?
Be honest with me. Okay, so again, I've done my
We both have.
Yeah, we both have, but yeah, I think so. I mean, LLM from a university abroad is, I think, overrated.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, LLM. If you want to continue your education for 1 or 2 more years, and you want to live on your parents' money, for that matter, of course, you can definitely enjoy more 2 years of college life.
Right.
But I mean, of course, it's not only for that, but you want to gain more knowledge and expertise in a particular domain. I would not take that credit away from masters, but I frankly think doing it from a university abroad is a little overrated. I mean, of course, the exposure that you get there is unmatchable. It cannot be compared to any of the institutes that you have probably even the top institutes that you have in India, because you have people from across the globe coming over there who have definite expertise in their subjects, who are sitting there with you in your classroom and gaining the knowledge and sharing their knowledge with you, right? So the the contacts that you make, I mean, if you see, Harvard works on its own alumni.
Absolutely.
That's how even these top these top schools work. Correct? So you gain that particular exposure when you go outside. And how are the laws which are there in different countries, how are the people in different countries, that's definitely creates that so I think that's why it has its own pros and cons.
But overall, you think it's a little
A
overrated.
little overrated.
Don't you think it gives you an advantage or an edge ahead of other professionals? Like for me, when I came back, I was suddenly recognized more. And I think even, I'm going to be honest with you, I'll flash my US LLM as much as I can, and I still do it. It helps you get an easy access, like a VIP entry almost to, let's say, the clients, to a college. Like people just pay more attention to you, and they think you're more credible because you have a foreign LLM.
Okay, so I think I would beg to differ from that aspect, because when I came back, I had no job. So I was like, okay, now what? Because now you are boasting yourself that, okay, I have done masters, I have already done my master's LLM, and if people reject you saying that you're overqualified for this job, it almost feels like, why have I done this, right? So I mean, there are both sets of experiences, because if you see majorly in UK colleges, the time the semester ends is by the time the market is almost saturated by taking the freshers for the job. So the market is so saturated that either you have to choose to wait for that one period, 1 year, and then start your career. But you're so desperate when you come back, because you want to prove your worth also to to the market, to your family, to everyone around you, that what you've done is worth it. It's not that it just can go in vain. So I mean, I decided to start at least practicing, if not going to a proper firm, but at least continue with my exposure to the legal industry rather than just stopping it over there. And Yes.
So when you came back, you joined a litigation firm,
Yeah, I
right?
was working
That's
with
what you were
first class,
telling
yeah,
me.
in Delhi.
Okay. What kind of cases were you handling? Was it only IP, or were you also kind of almost forced to take up other matters as well?
Yeah, I think it's a very fairy land that you're talking about, because if you see the Delhi litigation industry that we have, first and second year of your practice, you're not that, it's a different thing. In fact, so when I joined education industry, or when I joined teaching as a profession, that degree had its value. But when I joined litigation, it was like every Tom, Dick, and Harry is doing this. So you'll have to go through the same hurdle. You'll have to go through the same process. So the senior lawyers, they don't generally, they don't care. So you'll have to go through the same thing. So there was no edge that was given to me. But yes, of course, I was given that requisite exposure, I would say, because it was not a very big firm. And I think we were good employees.
Absolutely.
That So we were at least made to handle certain cases on our own, which gave us the requisite exposure. So I was practicing not only IP, but of course matters relating to corporate, NCLAT, and others as well when I came back.
Okay, let me ask you this. So you were in litigation, you were practicing, and then from there you were teaching for the love of teaching. You were doing it on over the weekends, and that kind of set up like acted as a stepping stone for you to get into legal education. This is what I have heard, and pardon my limited knowledge here. I've seen that people who are into litigation, they're in it for the longer run. Like they want to stay in forever, or maybe for as long as possible. What was your mental process like when you shifted from litigation to teaching?
Okay, so frankly speaking, as I told you, coming from a business family, I did not have a backup of, having my own cases, or a very limited sort of support from the family with respect to the practice in the field, correct? And you coming from Delhi, you know better that the litigation in Delhi is different from litigation anywhere.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So it was a task in itself to, to see yourself after 10 years. Plus, I think you need a lot of patience.
Correct.
You need 10 years of patience in litigation to get or reap the benefits of litigation. Correct. I think I did not have that much. So that my plan was not to be stuck with litigation forever. Right. So I any which ways wanted to have a shift from litigation, but I definitely wanted to gain exposure and learn how to, how to actually enter the court, how to actually argue before, before a judge. Even, it can be in IP matters or any other matter for that matter. Correct. So I definitely wanted to do that, and therefore I did what I did. And when I was given this particular opportunity to work with symbiosis, then I just grabbed onto it. Yeah, because I had an interest, but frankly, it also happened by chance, because I was not very sure that whether I want to continue, because teaching was always a passion, right? It was not something that I looked at as a career for me. But it called me. It called me when I first started teaching with symbiosis, and that was a life-changing experience for me. And that is when I thought that no, this is something that I want to pursue for my life. And that's how academics chose me. I think I always say to my students also, academics chose me, not I did not choose academics. Yeah.
And this was Symbiosis Pune?
Symbiosis Noida.
Symbiosis Noida, okay. Yeah. Wonderful. But it would be like almost like a thug life moment for you, because you were a student in Symbiosis and now you're teaching in Symbiosis.
Definitely. So, even my director in Symbiosis, so he being my teacher to he being my colleague, it was such a drastic change. And we enjoyed, but because we had a different rapport altogether. It was like a professor and a student rapport, that even as an employer, instead of an employer-employee rapport that I shared with him. And he was very kind enough to actually, see through me and tell me, okay, you can do this, you can do that, and motivate me in doing so many things apart from just delivering the lectures. So kudos to him to have identified that in me.
Right. So LLM happened, then litigation happened, then you started teaching. When exactly the PhD bug bit you? What? Tell me about the PhD now, because that is more fascinating. I've done my master's, but I've not been able to gather the courage to study further, because it's exhausting, and also I'm in a practice and all that. But talk to me about your PhD.
Please join academics. If you join academics, it's a requirement. So it's not it again. So I like studying. It's not that I don't like studying. I've been a bright student, and in my college, in my college days and my school days as well. But it's not that I plan again to focus specifically on PhD because I was still trying to find out my way through academics.
Yeah.
And that is when I got to know that, PhD is something which is mandatory for even growth in academics or for
Correct.
gaining more knowledge, and expertising or specializing in a particular field.
Correct.
So that's how I started looking for PhD options, and then I enrolled myself. And the topic I had from my mind from my UK days,
Let's
because I
talk
was
about
always personality rights, the protection of voice, specifically as a part of personality rights. So we keep seeing on Amitabh Bachchan in and out of the
Yeah,
news. Mr.
yeah.
Bachchan has been very vocal about protecting
Yes.
his voice. So that is what my PhD topic actually relates to,
Correct.
in the layman terms. And it's I already had it when I was doing my course in UK.
Right.
That if I had to carry on some research someday, I would want to take up that particular topic. So when I chose to do my PhD, I thought of it as a topic. And frankly, when I proposed this topic, not a lot of people were actually
Obviously.
in favor, because there's a very dearth of literature
Yeah,
and material in this particular area also, and we don't have a definite law and practice in place
Absolutely.
as of now.
Absolutely.
But gradually, when I explained them how do I want to take it forward, and of course they told me their experience and shared, so we sort of refined it, and we finally agreed on
Right.
doing PhD in this particular
I think I
topic.
recently studied that even the Delhi High Court came up with,
Yeah.
like even Mr. Bachchan, he approached Delhi High Court and there was a judge. So you, in a way, have been a pioneer to kind
Not
of.
not been a
I mean,
pioneer,
what
but
I'm
yeah,
trying to say is
it's
even
a-
you didn't have much material to study
Yeah.
or much precedent to even look at, but now
I do.
it's being recognized, and I'm sure it's there in the UK. It's definitely there in the US.
Definitely.
But I'm really happy to see that in India also we have precedents and we have
Yeah.
people like you who are really, trying to focus more and more on personality rights and
So
issues.
actually, I would say US and only few countries in US, they are only, recognizing
Correct.
personality rights.
Correct.
But if you see other countries, even UK for that matter,
Right.
there's no specific
They don't?
recognition
Oh.
of different aspects. See, image, everyone protects.
Yeah.
Like your picture, my picture, everyone will protect,
Correct.
right? A lot of countries protect that.
Correct.
But the different aspects of personality that may not be fixed in a tangible medium, like the
Correct.
style of Rajnikant or
Correct.
your voice,
Correct.
or these are not definitely protected.
Correct.
But if you see US, the certain countries, like when you talk about Mickey Mouse,
Right.
the way the Mickey Mouse speaks, right?
Correct.
Of course it is
Voice,
protected.
yeah.
So but that's very unique to Mickey Mouse.
Correct.
So I think that is how, I wanted to extend that particular scope not only to characters but also to humans, and
Right.
that's how I am looking at it. Like
Right.
whether it could be, we can have insurance,
Yes.
but we
Yes.
cannot have IP right.
Yes. I know
So
about
that's
that.
yeah.
Do you think we are ready for a, like, what area of law do you think personality rights would fit under? I know it's a part of IP and all that, but do you think we have enough material or enough cases to create a separate act on it, or
So I don't think we need a separate act any which way. See,
Okay.
because we already in copyright, as copyright is any which way is progressing, we already have performers right,
Correct.
and we in a way recognize image rights and celebrity rights in certain aspects, like in privacy also.
Right.
Correct. Uh, but I think in copyright itself, under the broader ambit of related rights,
Right.
we can include personality rights as a separate domain in itself, to protect the traits of personality that we can commercialize on. I think I'm actually more not focusing on generally mimicking someone, or
Yeah.
for humor purposes, like you mimicking me or I'm mimicking you for
Correct.
humor purposes,
Correct.
right? I'm majorly focusing on commercializing on that particular act, or that particular personality trait.
Right.
So if that is done without the consent, then it becomes an issue.
Right.
And I think they should be duly credited, and they should be the people who have actually put in. See, entertainment industry has gone leaps and bounds,
Yes.
right? I can go on. I'm so sorry,
No, you're
but and then people, if you see, they put in so much of hard work
Absolutely.
to build their personality. Not only hard work, the amount of money they put in, right, to build their image in a particular manner,
Yes.
to create that style around them, like the dresses. See, just taking example randomly, right? So Ranveer Singh, like if I
Yeah.
talk about the personality that he is building, like by wearing such clothes, and of course he's created that image by spending certain amount of money.
Absolutely.
Right? It could not have been created otherwise.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's not only that it's coming naturally to them, but it's also an investment for them, which they want to reap at a later date, right? And that is what I think should be protected. I mean, I should
Correct.
not be able
Absolutely.
to.
I couldn't agree more with you. Absolutely, you're right. I have to talk about your book. Tell me more about the book, because I saw it on Amazon. I've already ordered it. It's on the way. And obviously I'll get a signed copy from you as well. I need to know how did it happen and where did it all fit in. When was the time when you started thinking of writing a book? Again, was it a part of your PhD? Obviously not. Yeah.
So I was in symbiosis, and one of my friends was writing this particular book, wherein I contributed a chapter in his book. And that's how it happened to me, that okay, I can write something and they can, they wanted to publish it. So I mean, it worked out in a manner, and I mean, I was supposed to choose a topic, but uh, continuing my research in IP, I realized that there's so much less material in IP. And secondly, the people who are most affected by intellectual property rights, or the industries which are most affected by intellectual property rights or can gain more from intellectual property rights, they cannot have access to that particular knowledge. So I wanted to do something aligning intellectual property and these industries that that IP could be applied to and could be monetized upon, right? So that's why I chose this particular topic, also IPR in the creative industry. And then yeah, it transpired, it happened. Lockdown happened for my I mean, to my saving grace, and then I was given that particular time. I had that time during which I completed the.
But it's not a commentary. What is fascinating about the book is it's not a commentary on like how you have other authors talking about, let's say we have a Bear Act and then you're a commentary. It's your own, obviously your take on it, but also you've compiled a lot of information on how IP rights work in the creative.
Yeah, so
it's absolutely fascinating.
actually identify different industries, and I've identified so how copyright will apply to that particular industries, and what. To give you an example, suppose if I talk about a sports person, so how, while building an image of a sports person, how IP right may be made applicable. If not IP, I mean, how copyright can play a part, like personality rights, or how trademark can play a part. Can they have the name trademark? Can they have the moves trademark? Can, I mean, because I mean, right, that there is so much of difference in IP laws in different countries. In certain countries, you can get your style and trademarked, and you can have that, you can commercialize on it. But in India, you cannot. So I mean, the do's and don'ts, and where you can get the protection, and how you build your personality. So try to relate it to different industries and how IP could help them, and put it in the layman's terms to help them. So let's
Fantastic. What we're going to do is we're going to put the description of the Amazon link of your book in the description of this video, so that people can be benefited by that. Great. So you've been teaching for 5 odd years, 6 odd years? 7 years now? 7.5. Okay. When you deal with students these days, obviously it's like a deja vu moment for you also, because back in the day you were sitting on those benches and now you're on the other side of the table. When you're talking to the students, I'm sure you do, but my question is, what kind of differences do you see from your times? How has the legal education changed, or the crop of students has changed? And I know the generation thing, but also what are some of the other traits that you found in law students now from back in your time?
See, a lot has changed for us. We never used to focus, I think, we had limited knowledge to gain from, and to ask questions, or to and there was a different kind of respect that we had towards our faculties, right? Today, I think, because, and of course we had faculties who were much 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 older to us. Now the faculties are also coming to a stage which are, I mean, they're young, they are more approachable, and they have the requisite, they have different perspective. But the students, on the other hand, they are more equipped. They're more equipped from the very beginning. They have been so much equipped that their knowledge is much more. Everything is on that Google, right? So if I'm saying something to them right now, they'll just Google it and they'll put a question to me. So I mean, that of course, I mean, in a way has helped them, helped the student knowledge grow also. But in a way has also diverted the complete student and teacher relationship that used to be there. I think the respect that used to be there, for that we had towards our professors, has completely, I mean, changed in the times. I mean, they're more vocal, they're more friendlier towards the teacher than that particular. I mean, I think there is a gap in that. Yeah.
So fortunately they're not disrespectful, right? And correct me if I'm obviously they're not disrespectful.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll have to put it forward to them that you can't be disrespectful because that's how, I mean, because they're privileged, I would say. Our parents never gave us that privilege. Our parents would, will beat us only, and if they'll tell that, no, the professor is right. But the generation has also changed. As parents also, we have changed. We now try to identify and see both sides of the story and then come to a decision, right? So they're more privileged now. So I think we'll have to set that particular boundary that no, you cannot go. You can be notorious, but you cannot disrespect. That's how.
I think from what I've interacted with you in the past few days and including this discussion, I think even the level of teachers that we need is minimum the standards that you are setting, because it's like you need to have a friendship with the student. You need to come down to their level and communicate. And I had certain teachers who were very nosy, very uppity about not really they would diss you if you're asking a question. So kudos to you also to listening to be listening to the students and understanding their perspective also. But yeah, I agree, they have changed. There's a lot of nonchalant attitude that they have, but
yeah, true,
yeah,
very true.
right?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll do law. I'm just doing law for the
heck of it.
Yeah.
Right. Great. Before we wrap up, I have one last question from you. What kind of advice would you give to, let's say, your students or anybody who wants to become a lawyer or a law student? What is your take on how has the profession changed? And if anybody wants to focus on IP per se, what are the skills that they need to hone? What are some of the skills that they should be developing?
I think to keep it short, first, I think everyone needs to be persistent with whatever they're doing in their life. They cannot just, so for today, it's all about, say, money. I mean, if I look for money here today, I'll probably jump over here. And if I get a money, it doesn't matter if I have worked over in this particular place, even for, say, 2 months, right? So to at least have that sense of relationship and build that relationship and loyalty with that particular place, I think is very important, which I see lacking in today's time as well, right? And be persistent with respect to whatever you have chosen for. I mean, I don't force my students to pursue law only after they're graduated any which ways. I tell them to pursue their passion, whatever they can be most interested in for a longer period of their life. See, I don't know if they will be interested after 10 years in the same thing, but at least for the longer period of time, what they will be interested in. So I actually encourage them to choose their field accordingly. So whenever they're choosing, I think they'll have to be mindful about what can motivate them and what can keep them happy. Then just run for money and run just the rat race for, because at the end, like and I know that there's so many lawyers and there's so many good firms where they slog for, I mean, almost the whole week, and whatever bank balance they make, they have no time to enjoy it.
We did speak about that.
We did speak about that. So they don't have the time to enjoy it. So I mean, get that time off to enjoy that as well. So I think that would balance your life.
Right. So patience is definitely a key. You got to be patient. You got to be persistent. You got to be ready to put in the hard work, the long hours, but at the same time have fun. Don't forget to your hobbies. Don't give up your hobbies. Be reasonable. And if I may add on, I always tell this to my interns or my associates in my firm. Your job is not your life.
Definitely.
Your job is maybe a major part of your life, but take it easy. Like, take a break, have fun, go to Goa if you have to, go abroad if you have to. Don't go gaga about it's a great profession. You and I both know it. It's a life-changing profession, and I think
it gets exhausting at a point of time, right? If you're putting in any profession, if you put in too much, you're exhausted, and that's why you see so many people retiring so early these days. Like students after 5 years, they change completely their profession after 10 years because they're exhausted in the first 5 years and 10 years itself. So I think they need to have that life apart from,
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Twinkle. I think this was a breath of fresh air.
Thank you so much.
Talking to you. I think the perspective that you brought from the academic side, from your LLM in the UK, and generally about the legal profession. I think what I love about our discussion is the shift. Like, you've literally been there, done that all, because You've written a book. You're an author. You've done your
I think you're
masters.
praising me too much.
No, I think
No,
it's
but
true.
yeah.
I mean, it speaks for itself. Your resume speaks for itself.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate, and we'll obviously collaborate with your law school and
Definitely.
on more other things.
Thank you so much for having me over here, Abhishek. It was a pleasure having a conversation with you about my life and the experiences that I've had, but so much learning from you as well. I mean, how you have progressed in your life and how you are ruling 3 states altogether in the IP
We are-
fraternity. That's great to see.
We are
Kudos.
all a work in progress.
Yeah, definitely we are.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Hey, did you like our video? Have you subscribed to our channel yet? If not, I'm going to sue you. I'm kidding. Hit the subscribe button right now, like and share our content.